What would you do on a land carved by the sea? A place where culture has been shaped by nature and music. Where mentors are friends and music forms family. Who knows what you will create here? This land will inspire you and challenge your own adventure. We can open the doors, but it is for you to step through.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this info and Q&A session about the graduate programs here at the School of Music at Memorial University. I'm Dean Sutherland, and I have the absolute pleasure and privilege of serving as the Dean of the school here at Memorial. Joining me is also Dr. Karen Bulmer, who is the Associate Dean for Teaching and Learning here at the school. It's wonderful to have Dr. Bulmer, Karen, along for this evening's info session. Before we get into the info session itself, I, of course, as we do at all Music at Memorial events, want to provide a land acknowledgement. I thought I'd also say a few words about why we do provide a land acknowledgement for those of you that might be joining that are less familiar with this as a practice. So providing a land acknowledgement is a practice that actually predates European contact with Indigenous or Aboriginal peoples, particularly here we're thinking about in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador and in the country of Canada. What a land acknowledgement does is, one, it acknowledges the enduring connection of Aboriginal people to the place, to the territory in which they're from. It also recognizes the colonial history that is shared by all of us who now inhabit this territory together. And thirdly, it also reminds us, importantly, of the stewardship of the land in which we live, the territory in which we are. So here in St. John's at the main campus of Memorial University, we respectfully acknowledge the territory in which we gather, the territory upon which this campus is situated, as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk. We also recognize the island of Newfoundland as the ancestral homelands of the Mi'kmaq and Beothuk. We would also like to recognize the Inuit and Nunatsiavut and Nunatukavut and the Inuit-Tasinan and their ancestors as the original people of Labrador. We strive for respectful relationships with all the peoples of this province as we search for collective healing and true reconciliation and honor this beautiful land together. So as I said, with me is Dr. Karen Bulmer. She is the Associate Dean for Teaching and Learning, and in addition to that work, Karen Bulmer is also the Graduate Officer for the Ethnomusicology Graduate Program, so the MA and the PhD program. So you want to say hello, Karen?
Hello. I'm happy to be here, and looking forward to answering any questions about the ethnomusicology programs.
Thank you, Karen. So the way the format will go this evening is I'm going to give a presentation of sort of 15 or 20 minutes, just overviewing the school, highlighting the programs for the graduate studies and so on. And then we're going to have a short video featuring a couple of our faculty members performing, which I'll introduce at the end of the presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions from any of you that are watching. Any questions you have about the school, about the programs, about life in St. John's, whatever is on your minds. So the very first thing that I would say to you is follow us, get in touch with us, email us, and also check out our social channels. So on Instagram, we're at Music at Memorial. On Facebook, we're at Music at Mun. And on Twitter, at Music at Memorial. We share lots of information in these channels, and other ways for you to get in touch with us, of course, include sending us an email, checking in with the website, and so on. So as much as you can, get in touch with us, and we will get back to you as soon as possible and share lots of information with you. In terms of this presentation, there are a few things I wanted to highlight. First, I wanted to provide a COVID-19 update. Obviously, we're living in different times than we're used to, so I wanted to just say a few words about COVID-19 here at the university in the province and the measures that we're taking. I'll then go into a short discussion about programs, about mentorship here in the school, about the spaces of the school, performance halls, research areas, our technology means, as well as international studies that are open to graduate students. So let me begin with the COVID-19 update. Obviously, we are all living in a very different world, and I hope you're all doing as well as is possible amidst these extraordinary circumstances. Here in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, we're actually in a very fortunate position. It's one of the safest places in terms of the global pandemic to be living in the world currently because our virus cases here are very, 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 very low. In fact, we haven't had any community spread in Newfoundland and Labrador since April. There are only a few cases that are active in the province, and all the cases that we've had have been related to travel and have not been spreading more widely in the community. So we're really fortunate around that. Reasons for that include our measures, of course. So in the province, there's mandatory masks, physical distancing, obviously, contact tracing whenever cases occur. So there are loads and loads of public health guidelines around that. Here at Memorial University, we've actually had no cases at any of our campuses. So at the St. John's campus, neither Grenfell campus, and the other campuses of Memorial. So we've had no cases associated directly with the university. We also have a lot of protocols at the university and also here at the School of Music to keep faculty, staff, and students accessing the buildings safe. And they include, of course, mandatory masks, physical distancing requirements, keeping the density of people in buildings low, digital tracing if you're coming into a building. So, for example, the students that are here now, whenever they come into the building, they have to tap in so we digitally know that they're here. And these are measures, of course, that we're going to be continuing. All that said, of course, currently we are a very fortunate place, city, province, and university, having such a low spread of the virus and being one of the safer places to be. And we certainly hope that obviously continues. With regards to the programs, at the graduate level, we have three different programs, each of which have different streams within them. So there's the Master of Music program, the Master of Arts program, and the PhD program. Both the Master of Arts and the PhD programs are ethnomusicology oriented. In terms of what you can study or focus on in those programs, within the Master of Music, we have basically three streams. There's the performance stream, there's the performance pedagogy stream, and then there's the conducting stream. And within the conducting stream, there are three different pathways there as well. So there's a focus on instrumental conducting, one on choral conducting, and then one where you can combine both. Within the Master of Arts program in ethnomusicology, there's both a course-based route as well as a thesis-based route, and then there's the Doctor of Philosophy or PhD in ethnomusicology. When you're here as a student, you work with an amazing group of faculty, artists, scholars, and researchers. So here are two of the faculty artists, and these are actually the two that you'll hear performance from a little bit later. Nancy Dawn, violinist, and Timothy Steeves, pianist, and together they form Duo Concertante, one of Canada's premier chamber music ensembles, very, very highly regarded performing recording artists. Mentorship, if you're in the Master of Music program, for example, looks a lot like this, so a lot of close mentorship. We keep our class sizes very, very small because we know that you're going to develop best if you're in the Master of Music stream in terms of getting lots of individual attention in something that looks like this, so a lesson. Obviously, this picture was taken before COVID-19, so you'd probably be a little bit farther apart these days, but no doubt we'll be getting back to this even closer physical presence in the years to come. In the ethnomusicology program, mentorship is equally as important and equally as high for all of you. So I've put here an image of Dr. Harry Berger, who is the Canada Research Chair in ethnomusicology here at Memorial University. So we're really, really fortunate to have amongst our ethnomusicology faculty a Canada Research Chair. And Harry also is the Director of the Music, Media and Place Research Centre, which is where a lot of our ethnomusicology students hang out. We also have fantastic spaces. So here within the main School of Music building, we have two concert halls, the D.F. Cook Recital Hall, which seats about 300, and the Suncor Energy Hall, which is actually where Karen and I are sitting right now. And Suncor Energy Hall seats about 120, 150 audience members. And there you see a broader shot of Suncor Hall. Within the ethnomusicology program, as I said, we have the Music, Media and Place, also known as MMAP, Research Center. The Music, Media and Place Research Center does a huge variety of things supporting our ethnomusicology students, has a very active speaker or lecture series, does a lot of digital and sound archiving and recording work, a whole range of things that are involved in the ethnomusicology field. And this is a phenomenal opportunity and resource for all of our ethnomusicology grad students. As you can see in that picture, we also have a lot of technology going on here at the school. So we have an electroacoustic research laboratory, one of the few institutions in Canada that actually boasts this kind of facility. It's used a lot by our composition students. It's used by graduate students, and it's both a research as well as a teaching place. Wonderful opportunity for students to work there. Within that lab, they do really cool things like digital instrument design. So Dr. Andrew Staniland, who's one of our comp profs, creates new digital instruments. On this image, you see the Mune, which is a digital haptic interface, basically a cool thing that you can use to control sound and music on your laptop or your iPad. He's also invented a new instrument recently called the Jade, which will read your brainwaves, turns your thoughts into sound, which is pretty cool. In addition to the technology and the great spaces and the amazing faculty and scholars and mentorship, we also have a lot of opportunities in terms of career learning. So on the master music side, for example, if you're a voice major, we have the Opera Roadshow program. This is a professional touring program that takes live opera across the province and around the Atlantic provinces annually. Obviously, it didn't happen this year, but normally we do this every single year. So students get to learn all about how to stage and perform and tour live opera while they're students right here in the program. For orchestral instrument players, we have a unique partnership with the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra, which is the province's professional orchestra, where you can audition for a chair, as we call it, with the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra. And what that means is you join the orchestra for a season and play with their Masterwork series, and you actually get paid an honorarium for that. So it's also a way to not only learn how a symphony orchestra works, but to also earn some money while doing so. For our ethnomusicology students, we also have internships at the Smithsonian Institute down in the U.S. That's a phenomenal opportunity for ethnomusicology folks to get further professional experience and working also within the United States. We also have a Center for Social Enterprise. So this is a center that provides mentorship, funding opportunities for those that are interested in setting up social enterprises, businesses or companies that develop a public serving or social benefit as their main mandate. We also have the Center for Entrepreneurship here at Memorial, which provides, again, mentorship and funding and other services for those that are interested in setting up commercial-oriented companies or ventures. In terms of ensembles, there are also quite a number of these, so I'll just quickly run through them. We, of course, have an orchestra here within the school, the wind ensemble, chamber and festival choirs for those that are into choral singing. Obviously, these ensembles, orchestra and wind ensemble, and the choirs are particularly used for our Master of Music in conducting. So if you're a Master of Music conducting student, you'd be working with one or more of those ensembles. We also have a fantastic percussion ensemble, which is locally called the Scrunchions. We have a jazz ensemble. And we even have a Sudanese gamelan ensemble, which provides another really interesting venue for students to learn more about musics of other cultures. I mentioned earlier on, we also have international studies. So Memorial University is one of only a couple of universities in Canada that has its own campus in England, in the United Kingdom. Our campus is called Harlow Campus, and it's located about 40 minutes, 35 minutes outside of central London by train. And every year, well, didn't happen this year again because of the global pandemic, but normally every year we run a program at the Harlow campus which takes students over there to study for 4 or 5 weeks. Basically, you can think about it like this. You could get to hang out in London and attend really cool workshops, master classes, attend performances, and so on. Very enriching experience through our Harlow campus. I thought I'd say a few words about alumni success, just so you get a sense of what some of our graduates do. David Pomeroy, who's a tenor, is a graduate of the School of Music here at Memorial. In terms of ethnomusicology, Leila Kashu is a graduate. Leila actually won the Canadian Association of Graduate Studies Dissertation of the Year Award, so PhD Dissertation of the Year Award for all of Canada when she completed her PhD in ethnomusicology. She's also now a Banting postdoctoral fellow. Dwayne Andrews has a Master of Music from Memorial. He's a phenomenal guitarist, composer, recording artist, performer. Sean Rice is a clarinetist, now with the National Arts Centre Orchestra based in Ottawa. Andrea Lodge is a pianist based in New York City, and actually was just nominated, her group called Hypercube was just nominated for a Grammy Award, Contemporary Album of the Year, so we're really proud of that accomplishment for her. Stephen Ivany is a trombonist, actually a former student of Dr. Bulmer's, and now has a position at a university in California, so has gone in that sort of academic route, performance route. Judith Klassen, an ethnomusicologist, is a curator at the Canadian Museum of History, and Judith won the Governor General's Award for her doctoral dissertation. So again, a very, very highly esteemed ethnomusicology graduate student that came out of our program here. I thought I'd also just say this. I'm also a graduate of the Master of Music program from Memorial University. Graduated in, it was just a couple of years ago, really. No, it was more like 15 or 16 years ago, but I am also a graduate of the program, so I can also personally speak to what experience is like for a student in the program. Even the Chancellor of Memorial University, Dr. Susan Dyer-Knight, is actually a graduate of the School of Music, so you find us absolutely everywhere. Coming towards the end of the presentation now, I thought I'd say just a few words about funding. So there are a variety of funding opportunities for our graduate students. The vast majority of our graduate students are on some form of substantial funding. So the first thing to say is we have what's called baseline funding. So this is funding that's provided from Memorial University itself to graduate students. We offer a variety of competitive funding packages directly to students that are coming into the program. So if you've auditioned or you've applied in the ethnomusicology program, you've been accepted into the school, we would then most likely be offering you a baseline funding package from your first year. In addition to that baseline funding, there are more than 100 scholarships available for students that are either in the Master of Music or ethnomusicology program. Some of these are music specific, some of them are more broad, but for anybody any graduate students in the music program, there are more than 100 opportunities for you to apply for different scholarships. So some of these are specifically for music or ethnomusicology as disciplines, some are university-wide, and some are external to the university. I've put on the PowerPoint there a URL for a really handy scholarship searching tool that's on our School of Graduate Studies website, but if you just Google scholarships, graduate, Memorial University School of Graduate Studies, you'll find it. But it's a great tool for being able to look at different scholarship options, both within the university and outside the university, that you might be eligible for. And finally, and particularly for our ethnomusicology students, there's SSHRC funding. So a lot of our graduate students, particularly our PhD students in ethnomusicology, are very, very successful in receiving SSHRC doctoral fellowships. In fact, our ethnomusicology program runs workshops to help students learn how to write those kinds of grant applications. In terms of tuition, Memorial University is one of the absolutely most affordable universities in Canada. It is so because the university is heavily subsidized by the provincial government. So about 85% of our overall budget comes from the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, the provincial government. So that your tuition is automatically subsidized. But here on the PowerPoint, you can see the varying tuition levels. The ones that are most germane to those of you interested in either the Master of Music, the Master of Arts, or the PhD program are on the second line there that says Master Program 2 years, so that will be the Master of Music or the Master of Arts program. And you can see the different rates for Newfoundland and Labrador residents versus Canadian residents versus international students. And then the very bottom line are the tuition levels for our doctoral programs. Dates and deadlines. So for the Master of Music program, the deadline for applying is December the 15th, which is coming up just in a couple of months' time. For MA and PhD and ethnomusicology students, the deadline for application is January the 10th. And all the applications obviously happen online, so you just go through the portal on the Memorial University website. For those in the Master of Music program, obviously there are auditions that are involved in that. So here on the screen, you'll see our audition dates for this coming season. Now, there's a caveat here. So we normally do live auditions in Toronto, Halifax, and here in St. John's, of course. We have not yet made a final decision, but as you can imagine, with the current situation around the world, it's probably going to be challenging, probably not possible for us to do those live auditions. But again, we haven't made a final decision. However, if we do not do the live auditions, we will do, of course, distance auditions. And in fact, every year we do distance auditions. So students every year apply by submitting a video. So this year, if we can't do the live auditions, we just pivot to doing the distance auditions for everything, where you would submit a video as your audition material. And we're actually planning to run a couple of workshops in the next month or so about how to best structure an audition video for those of you that are going to apply for the Master of Music program. So we'll update you on this. And again, that goes back to the idea of get in touch with us. Let us know that you're interested in the program so that we can be making sure that these communications go directly to you about when a decision is made about auditions and also sessions that might be useful to help you create and structure your audition videos. And that's it from the presentation side. So I hope that was some useful information. No doubt a lot of information being fired at you at one time, but if you have any questions, we'll get to those as soon as we have enjoyed some music. So we're going to show you a performance by a duo concertante, Dr. Nancy Dawn and Professor Timothy Steeves, violin and piano, and they're performing a piece by Smetna, which you might recognize. It's from my homeland, Austerheimat. So I hope you enjoyed that performance by Nancy Don and Timothy C. Duo Concertante, a resounding end, of course, to that work. Always great to hear them. So now we are happy to answer any questions that you have. Karen is here along with me. So any questions you have about any of the programs, Life in St. John's, whatever you want to ask, we're happy to answer.
We have a question from Annie, or Annie would actually like to know what it's like to live in St. John's.
I should also say the voice that you're now hearing is the voice of Chelsea Walsh, who is the digital marketing specialist here at the School of Music, also an instructor teaching a fantastic course in digital content creation. The question was, what is life like in St. John's? So I would say that St. John's is an extraordinarily vibrant city, a very cool city, a very nice sort of edgy vibe to it, very cultural. There's a huge amount of music and arts that happen in this city. The downtown music scene, for example, is very diverse. You've got indie, you've got trad music, you've got jazz, you've got everything mixed together. The city is very safe, very walkable, although not in a snowstorm, but generally otherwise it's very walkable. It's a cool place, and you know, it's a very unique location. We're right on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, as you saw in that opening video. So it's also stunningly beautiful. You've lived here actually longer than I have, technically speaking. So what's St. John's like, Karen?
Well, ditto to everything about the city. The city's wonderful and interesting and just kind of neat. There's no place like it. And if you were into the outdoors at all, then it's an incredible place to live because you don't have to leave, you hardly have to leave downtown. And you're on one of the most amazing hiking trails that you can possibly imagine right along the ocean. And if you want to go a little bit farther afield, there are amazing trails all along the coast, very accessible. Our restaurant scene's getting pretty good.
That's true.
The food is good. Yeah.
Bar scene's pretty good.
It's a neat place to live and easy to get around.
Are grad students able to take, have the opportunity to take advantage of the new jazz offerings?
So the answer is yes and no. So the jazz, for example, master music students can certainly be involved in the jazz combo courses, the jazz ensemble, and so on. But there is a jazz studies minor, which is a new program for the undergraduate program. So the yes and no is yes, there are courses within jazz or ensemble experiences and so on within jazz that master music students could be involved with. Also MA and PhD students could be involved with. However, the minor is not available at the graduate level, so the minor is just for the undergrads.
Victoria says, tell me more about your chamber options and programs, please.
Sure. Chamber music. Actually, Karen, do you want to take that first? You often coach chamber music. So.
Yeah, chamber music, did you say?
Chamber options, chamber
Okay.
music options.
I thought you said chamber opera for a moment. So all the students in the Master of Music in Performance program take chamber music, but it is also available as an elective for Master of Music in Performance and Pedagogy. And the options are really pretty wide open. So students are invited to put groups together on their own. They can do this in consultation with faculty and choose repertoire. So yeah, it's pretty wide open, and potentially you can do it in every semester that you're in the program if you like.
Yeah, and a lot of students do it every semester in the program.
Yeah, it's possible to form a group. This has happened before that will stay together through a couple of years.
Actually, some of your students have the longest standing instrumental chamber ensemble in the school, known as...
COVID broke our 11-year streak of the Paddy Wagon Trombone Quartet.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Multiple people would like to know what opportunities are available for international students for funding, and if it's enough for living as well.
So international students, the same as domestic Canadian students or indeed Newfoundland Labrador resident students, are all the funding opportunities that I mentioned are all still there. So there's the SSHRC funding for the ethnomusicology programs. Actually, for international students, that's not, you have to be a Canadian citizen for that. But the baseline funding, as well as those scholarships, the 100+ scholarships, they're available for international students. Again, all of our students, or almost all of our students, are on some form of funding when they enter the program. And that wouldn't matter if you were an international student or a domestic Canadian student. You would still be, if you're eligible, offered a funding package from the baseline funding. Generally, yes. So the funding that you would receive as baseline funding, that plus some scholarship work, and graduate students also do a lot of, there are a lot of opportunities for graduate assistantships and teaching assistantships and so on. All of that does very much provide a funding that will allow you to live, to support yourself here in St. John's.
Victoria asks, what's a typical semester for a string master's student?
Well, Dr. Bulmer is a low brass player, and I'm a pianist, so well, I guess I could just briefly describe what a master music student would be taking in a given semester, which wouldn't be that much different from instrument to instrument or including voice as well. So, for example, in your first semester, master music students will typically be taking, obviously, your applied studies, so your violin lessons in this case. You will be taking some ensemble or chamber music, so for violinists, the orchestra, maybe you're playing in a string quartet as well. Then there's a course called Introduction to Music Research. Music 6000 is the number, so you would typically take that in your first year. And then you may also take an elective course of some sort in your first semester. You might take an ethnomusicology course. You might take a course in performance issues, which Dr. Bulmer actually teaches. But that would be sort of a typical semester. So you would have your lessons, an ensemble, some chamber music, and then one or maybe two academic courses. In the run of any given day, you would, if you're comparing it to your undergraduate years, what you would probably find as a master music student is that you have fewer courses, so there are fewer things you have to go to in that sense in the run of a day. So your schedule may look a little bit different. However, of course, the focus is on in the master music program, your applied work, your performance, and then also your performance pedagogy work. So there's a lot more expectations for a higher level of achievement in those areas. So you have more time to practice and so on than you would may have found as an undergraduate student if you did a Bachelor of Music degree. You've worked with lots of master students. Any?
Yeah, well, if you're interested in the pedagogy program at all, there's sort of a 3-course sequence that's core to the pedagogy program. So it starts with a general pedagogy course called Studio Pedagogy, which just introduces students to general ideas about teaching and learning in a music context, but not instrument specific. And then that's usually followed by an instrument-specific pedagogy. So it would be string pedagogy if you're a string player, or brass pedagogy, voice pedagogy. And then that's followed by a pedagogy internship, which is essentially a mentored teaching internship. So you're paired with some students here in the community, you teach them, you videotape those lessons, you do some reflection on that process, but your instructor will also view those videos, and so you'll get feedback on your teaching. So if you are a performance pedagogy major, those courses happen sort of in a sequence throughout the 2 years.
And just building on that, it's not quite the question that was being asked, but a lot of our students would also be working in the community, such as teaching in local studios here in the city. As the orchestral chairs program is another avenue. We're playing with the symphony orchestra. Students create their own ensembles and perform at downtown venues or whatever. So there's also a lot of external work that's available to you. Of course, that's up to you to take on that work if you so choose. But there are lots of opportunities for you as well to build a professional career while you're also within the graduate program.
Is it possible to have a lesson or to meet a professor before the auditions happen?
Yes. We are very, very happy to hear from students who are interested in our program, so do not be shy at all about sending us an email. All our email addresses are on the website, so if you're interested in the program, just send the faculty member an email. We are delighted to have a conversation with you over email And most of us are more than happy to provide a lesson as well, and we could do that by distance if we need to. Seems like we probably need to, but yeah, we're very happy to answer questions and to chat.
Are there specific residences for graduate students?
There are. So there's a variety of accommodation options for graduate students, well, for all students in Memorial, but for graduate students specifically, there are apartments on the St. John's campus, the main campus, which is where the School of Music is, where we're sitting right now. And those apartments are called Burton's Pond Apartments. And they are, under normal circumstances, meaning not in a global pandemic, those are residences that are used quite a lot by graduate students. In fact, many master music students that I know have lived there. The Burton's Pond Apartments have the advantage of being very close, actually, to the music school. So they're only a couple of minutes, 3 or 4 minutes walk from the actual main building of the music school. There's also another option. If you're looking for a room with a view, the Signal Hill campus of Memorial University, which is our newest campus, the Signal Hill campus is located on Signal Hill. Just Google Signal Hill if you're not familiar with it. It's quite a famous landmark within St. John's. And it's a building on this hill that overlooks the harbor as well as the ocean. And a lot of the rooms have harbor and ocean views. So if you're looking for a place to have a view, that would be a good place to be. It is a graduate student only residence there. The one disadvantage to the Signal Hill campus, as beautiful as it is, it's not particularly close to the St. John's campus. There is a shuttle that runs between the St. John's campus and Signal Hill campus every day throughout the day. I think it's every hour or something. It's only about a 20-minute drive, but that can, I think, sometimes be problematic for particularly master music students that have rehearsals and things to get back and forth from. That said, we've had many graduate students also live in the Signal Hill campus area. In addition to those, the Burton's Pond Apartments and the Signal Hill campus, the School of Music is, as I said, located on the main St. John's campus, which is very, very close. It's directly across the street from a residential area. So there's also a lot of apartments and houses and things that are available for rent that are super, super close to the main campus where you would be attending classes and doing your research and studies.
Does the MUs in performance and pedagogy include both, or is it just focused in pedagogy?
It includes both. Dr. Bulmer is an expert in pedagogy, so I'll get her to answer that with more detail.
The focus of the degree is more on pedagogy than in just the performance stream, but you still take lessons just like you would if you were in the performance stream. You have a recital each year. The requirements are, your recitals don't have to be quite as long but they can be. You can sort of mirror the performance degree in that way. You've got a little bit less choice in terms of electives just because you've got those pedagogy courses that you need to take, but otherwise we've had many, many students go through the program who have pursued a very, very high level of performance while also completing the pedagogy program.
Yep, absolutely. There's also a very interesting trend of students that start in the performance or do the performance degree, so they do a Master of Music and Performance, and then they enjoy it here so much that they then stay for another 2 years and do a pedagogy degree, or vice versa. They start with a performance pedagogy degree and then stay and do another couple of years as a performance Master of Music student.
What kind of performance opportunities are available?
So there are a huge number of performance opportunities available directly in the program. So obviously if you were in the Master of Music and Performance or Performance Ped programs or conducting programs, there are requirements for recitals or concerts every year in the program. So that's part of it. If you're doing chamber music, there are performances for the chamber music groups at the end of each semester. The ensembles all perform concerts, or in the case of opera, staging an opera every semester or every year. Then outside the program, there are any number, I guess the number of performance opportunities you would have is kind of limited only by the number of performances you would want to do. So you can be involved in all kinds of stuff outside the school as well, obviously in consultation with your faculty members. But a huge number of performance opportunities. within the program and outside. I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, just to say that many of our students have performing lives outside of the school in another genre or style of music. So that's very possible as well. We've got lots of students who play in bands and lots who have sort of mini solo careers in some of the venues downtown. So that's really possible as well.
Yeah. And also, as you were saying that, I was thinking that the halls that I mentioned, so the one that we're sitting in, Suncor Hall, as well as the larger hall, which is on the other side of that corridor, that's why I'm pointing in that direction, of D.F. Cook Hall, both these are your performance spaces, so they are places where concerts happen with guest artists and faculty artists, but these are the halls, obviously, where students are also performing. This is also the place where you'd be doing master classes and so on. So there, not only are there an enormous number of performance opportunities, but there are also very fantastic facilities for you to do performances right here at the school.
What are the audition requirements?
So the best advice is to go on the website and look up the audition requirements, because they vary a little bit depending upon your instrument area. So violin requirements will look a little bit different than piano requirements, will look a little bit different from voice requirements. Certainly, in general, the Master Music auditions are, would have basically a full program. So sort of 30, 50, 60 minutes of music prepared. So for example, if you're coming from an undergraduate degree, a bachelor of music degree in performance, you probably have done a graduating recital or preparing a graduating recital. So that material would probably be very usable, or at least that length of material would be what we would be looking for a Master Music audition. The auditions themselves are not an hour. The auditions are usually about 30 minutes, so it's not the live auditions. But this year, if they're distanced, then we'll work with you to figure out how to best structure your video auditions, as I mentioned earlier. You've sat, no doubt, on lots of Master Music auditions, so
yeah.
What are they like?
So we sort of pick and choose. Normally, we would ask you what you want to start with, and then we just sort of pick our way through your program so that we hear, we just want to hear lots of different styles of playing. Yeah, it's pretty friendly. We usually have a little bit of a chat. I wanted to mention as well about the variations in audition requirements that you should check carefully, because there's some instrument areas require specific pieces or specific composers, and other instrument areas it's wider. So just make sure you check for your own instrument what's required.
And we're also really encouraging students to choose or perform repertoire from a diversity of composers or diverse composers, so particularly composers that are Black, Indigenous, or people of color. So we're really, this is a very important message always, but particularly in these times, to be mindful of diversity. So if you've got a repertoire or you're interested in repertoire by such composers, it would be really great to be able to hear some of that stuff too.
If I don't receive a score of 85 in the TOEFL, is there another way to prove my English skills? Can I send it in later?
Yeah, so your English second language proficiency, TOEFL, TOEFL, there are options here at Memorial for you to be able to advance your English skills. What I would say is the best piece of advice is to get in touch with the Internationalization Office to discuss the English second language requirements and the various tests that are acceptable to Memorial as proof of English competency, and what levels, like what score level do you need for them, because there are quite a variety now. So reach out to the Internationalization Office. And I'm sure that we'll pop that into the chat, what the address is. I think it's international@mun.ca, but somebody should probably double check that in case I'm wrong.
Are the audition requirements the same for PhD as for the MUS?
So the PhD program is different. So the PhD is very much research-based. So the PhD program, its application involves proposing a research area. So you'd have an idea of what is the area you would want to research in ethnomusicology with a research question. And there are quite a few really diverse, wide range of projects, research projects within the MA as well as the PhD programs. So, for example, we have students doing research projects on soundscapes of Toronto Raptors games, basketball games. We have a student doing a project on community music therapy in Uganda. Another student is doing a project on the lives and identities and so on of sound technicians for Cirque du Soleil. Another student is doing leadership in choral settings. So there's quite a diversity of research areas within the ethnomusicology program. Again, for anybody interested in the MA and the PhD program, it's really important to get in touch. So the same as Karen said with regards to a MUS faculty providing lessons and answering questions and so on, the ethnomusicology faculty would be doing the same thing for anybody interested in those programs to understand what is your research interests, your research area, where do you want to go, and what are their expertise within the faculty and how that might fit with your interests.
The fees that were listed in your presentation, were they the fees per term or per year?
Neither. Those are the fees per program. So those fees are here at Memorial. The graduate programs differ. So for those of you familiar with undergraduate tuition, which obviously you all would be if you're going to apply to a graduate program, you would have done an undergraduate program at some point. So undergraduate level, you actually apply or you pay tuition by the course. However, at the graduate level here at Memorial, you pay by the degree. So the fees are for the degree, not by the course. So hopefully that clears up the information on tuition. An advantage to that is, by the way, for example, if you're a Master of Music student, the degree requires 30 or 31 credit hours, depending on which form you're doing. You can take more courses than that, and there's no additional tuition because you're paying for the program. So you can always take more electives, you can do more chamber music, et cetera. And the same applies for the MA and PhD programs.
And I believe that is all of our questions for tonight.
Super. Well, thank you, Dr. Bulmer, for joining.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you to Chelsea for managing the questions. Thank you to Pete Stambridge and Steve Lilly, who none of you can see, that have been running the technical equipment behind the scenes. The last thing I want to say is just to remind you to reach out to us. So the social media channels, do follow us on Instagram, Music at Memorial, Facebook, Music at MUN, Twitter, Music at Memorial, and send us an email. Really get in touch. What Karen was saying with regards to faculty members being perfectly willing to have a chat with you, connect over email, do a lesson over Zoom or whatever your favorite video conferencing technology is these days. That's what we do. We really, really, truly want to be able to connect with you from the start of your application process or in the thinking of applying. So reach out to us, get in touch with us, send us an email, follow us on the social channels, and thank you for joining us this evening. And I hope you have a wonderful evening, day, depending on whatever time zone you're in, and we look forward to hearing from you and receiving your applications. Have a good one.